Hello, hello. So, we're ready to begin. Är det eko? Thanks so much for joining tonight. This is the third installment of our meetup series, where we try to explore business opportunities. We try to talk tech through business, or the vice versa, whatever you prefer. First time around here, we had before summer, we were talking about AI, Watson, machine learning from a pure building block perspective. So, how can you go about doing it and experiences from it? Second time around, end of April, we're talking about smarter buildings, IoT, and cognitive connectivity and analysis in buildings. And this time around, we will have two great speakers, Andreas here from our Garage team, and Philip and Anders. Was it? Yep, great, from Apartment 5. And they'll get to introduce themselves here later on. And the theme for today is really, if we talk about more from a technology point of view, this will be around, so how we're going to do it. So given we have fair amount of technology, libraries or APIs to do it. So how should we go about doing it? Either if you're a consultancy, software company, startup, or a big corporation. And I just wanted to show you two pictures to set the scene. Hello, welcome. Just take a sit down. To set the scene, Harvard Business wrote about this, and we believe firmly in this as well. So it doesn't matter if it's AI, all the hype, the peak of the hype curve, but still you need to be customer oriented. You need to be very clear in terms of showing the benefits, either if it's an IT project, a new service, a new app you're doing, and you also, they did some deep studies around a couple of projects around this, and you also need to be very clear in the terms of intentions you're having. And you need to try to crack open that black box of AI, or some type of simpler type of algorithm. And it's been a lot written in forums around this, cracking the black box of AI or deep tech in general. And we definitely believe in it. The other thing that we're really passionate about, and Andreas will talk a little bit about that, is that if we are now going to do this and deepening this man-machine collaboration, we really need to do an even better job with the user experience. Because if we're not omitting the people in the process, which we in most cases we're not, we're deepening it, or we're making it even better or more frictionless, we need to do that even better. And then we need to have customer empathy in loads and loads. So we definitely, in IBM, we've signed up greatly to design thinking and developed a practice and a pragmatic way to incorporate that. We'll mention this as well. And with that, I would like to hand over to Andreas.
All right. Hi, everyone. Big crowd here today. Did we offer free beers? We did. So my name is Andreas. I've been with IBM for about 3 years. So I'm very fresh in IBM terms. And I got started in IBM right about the same time or shortly after we introduced our cloud platform. So one question to start with. Has any one of you heard about Bluemix, IBM's cloud platform? A few of you. Okay. I will touch upon it later on, but I won't go deep into the platform itself. So I started up in IBM working with that platform, and I've been working with that since then in our European tech sales team. So what I've been doing is really helping our sales team and clients in Europe, leveraging our cloud capabilities and latest technologies in collaboration with our labs, mainly present in the US. And another target I've had during my stay at IBM so far is to make sure that our clients actually use our cloud and scale it and leverage all the capabilities in it. And the greatest tool for us to do so is to leverage our garage services. So my next question is, have you heard about IBM Garages? No, sort of. Yeah, so I've been working with IBM Garage for the last 2-3 years, and the Garage is really a startup within IBM. It started right about the same time as we introduced our cloud platform, and it leveraged the experience and learnings that we gain from our own transition, moving from a more traditional software vendor into becoming a cloud vendor and having releases every 6 months or yearly to multiple releases every day, and all that comes with that. Also, the Garage is based on a lot of learnings from the startup world, principles such as Lean Startup, the Lean Manifesto, areas that some of you might be familiar with. And basically, I'm here today to talk about how we in the Garage drive innovation projects using lean methods and principles, leveraging cloud as our technology and the capabilities in there. And I want to start up doing so by actually telling you a bit about a project that we run and are currently still running. And it's with a startup based in Malmö. I'm based in Malmö, by the way. It's called ModCam. ModCam is, you might say, well, it's an Android device. See it as an Android phone, but without the screen, but with the camera upon it. And on that device, they have a number of algorithms. And what they do is that they can process pictures and send the metadata. So instead of sending pictures, they just send the analytics based on those pictures. And it's used for people counting, demographics, heat mapping, and so forth. It was founded a couple of years ago by some people that has a long experience in an industry. Bogdan Tirasu came from Sony. Jan-Erik Solum, he was the founder of Polaro's, later sold to Apple, visual recognition technology. He also the founder of Maplery. K. Johansson came from TAT, and Tord Wingren has a long industry in the telco industry. Very high-profile guys behind this company, but they realized during the initial phase where they only had sort of the first prototype of the hardware itself that they were struggling to get it through with major clients, big companies that they were approaching. They needed a big dog to talk with other big dogs, and came to IBM. We got to meet them, and we discussed what we can do together. And we went through this journey, and it's been going on for around 2 years. It started up with us getting to know each other, and we did that by running a hackathon, an IoT hack. And I should say that at this time, we, as IBM, was really pushing for IoT platforms, so it really suited us at this point. So we ran a hack where we invited a number of developers. I think it was around 15 different teams, global teams, that got to play with their hardware, and we combined that with our platform, our AT platform, running on our cloud platform, and a number of other services that we provide, and put up an architecture that they were able to use and generate new ideas for a weekend. That was sort of the first engagement that we did with them, just to identify a number of areas or ideas that we could continue work on. Next thing we did was to let a number of interns, students, doing exam work in our space, which we thought are methods and principles that we use in the garage, and we nurtured them and supported them during the way, and we let them go through the full path of taking an idea to a final product or an MVP, a production-ready MVP. And we did that in 2 phases, and the outcome of that was some prototypes, MVPs, that we were able to then use when investigating where is a market fit for this. So we went out throughout IBM internally in our organization and shared those prototypes, talked about what those ideas could, where those ideas could apply to our existing technology and our existing platforms. And we found 2 areas. One was within retail, and the other one was within facility management, which then leads us to the last part of our journey, where we found the right offering fit. Their technology, their hardware and software, combined with our platforms in these 2 spaces. So we basically went from what they called a minimum viable device, was just based on a reference architecture, came out of a research organization called MAPSI, based in Lund University. We took that from just a device into a product that we could showcase and find the right market fit, into what they call a minimum viable product, which is now running at multiple sites at big retailers. We passed the pilot stage for some of them, thus being in production. And we have a steady pipeline of new clients that we jointly go to market with towards. That's just one journey with one of the partners that we've been working with. So what are we actually doing? So have you heard about design thinking? Most of you. Right. So design thinking is really about taking the end user, having the end user in focus, and having design as part of the full process. I'm going to talk a bit more about design thinking later on. We used our methods, which I also going to briefly tell you a bit more about, which really is about DevOps, how we build, test, deploy, and run our applications or our services that we produce. And we deliver various outcomes. It could be anything from AI to IoT to mobile or simple web applications. And we leverage a bunch of different technologies in doing so. Some of those technologies are provided by IBM through our platform. Others are actually third-party that we use. So about the methods, what it's really about is the culture. So we try to create a culture, an innovative culture where we have a high transparency and we work in very small autonomous teams with various expertise. And we try to bring both business, development, and operation into the same process. We use different techniques. It's not IBM invented, as I started up with. We leverage principles and methods such as lean startup. Pair programming, we do pair programming, we always do that, where we either pair with our partners or clients, developers, or we provide a full development for the project. And we rotate pairs so that we give a skill transfer and that our developers share their experience with them. And obviously, yeah, I should say that there are some guiding rules in our way of doing this. We need direct access to product owners, and we let them be part of the process itself. They continuously get details on our progression. So we start with a disruptive idea. We define an MVP. We experiment and design, and then build, test, and deploy. And it's an iterative process, so we go back to each step as we get customer feedback on it. As I said, the process itself starts with design thinking. So when we run design thinking workshops, it starts off with, well, the requirements ahead of doing so is that we define a persona, someone that represents the end user. And based on that persona, we do empathy mapping. You're familiar with that? And try to identify the pain points that we want to continue with. And that's a quite hard process. We ran those workshops during 1.5 to 2 days. And we have developers, architects, someone representing the end user. We have product owners part of that process. And we in turn provide both architects, UX design, and even visual design sometimes. Next step is that we do an inception, and during the inception we take the MVP defined in the design thinking workshop and simply build up our backlog of user stories. We also look at what are the tooling needed for this specific application and set up our DevOps for it. And that could be everything from how we share information. We use Slack, as probably most of you do, as a communication method. But we also use Trello boards and those kind of things that you from the startup world probably use as well. Also, when it comes to DevOps, we need to identify how will we build, test, and deploy our code using pipeline services and so forth. And we also look at upon a success, how would this application actually scale? Those kind of activities in an inception. Based on the inception itself, we then have a backlog, and each week we do weekly sprints. So each week we start up with a planning meeting where we talk about the user stories ahead for the week, and we also have a daily stand-up throughout the process where we discuss the learnings from the day before, or the objectives with the current day. And we work on those stories in weekly iteration and have weekly playbacks for our product owners where we share our progress. So it's a very agile way of working. Is it something that looks familiar for you? And the intention with this process is really to enable us to be to give us the flexibility in order to be able to quickly iterate based on feedback and change our planning. It could be a single user story or multiple stories. In order for us to do this, we need to be able to pick the tools most appropriate for the project that we run. And luckily, IBM Cloud is open by design. Oh, that sounded a bit weird, but it's a great thing. IBM actually has been a sponsor to various open source projects in many years. And it's a very good thing for us, since that enables us to pick the tools needed for each project. And just to quickly go through what Bluemix is really about, our cloud platform. So Bluemix is started up as a PaaS platform, platform as a service, and it's based on Cloud Foundry. It's actually Cloud Foundry with added capabilities on top of it. Now, Cloud Foundry is an open source technology which provides support for various, many different runtimes and community provided services. So the platform supports not only Cloud Foundry, we also, from an infrastructure perspective, have support for container technology. We through Docker, lately we introduced our Kubernetes orchestrated Docker service, and OpenStack. And it also provides a catalog of various services in different categories. So you have everything from mobile services to IoT services to Watson services. I heard a lot of you were asking about Watson when I came in here today. All of those APIs are available through our platform. And on top of that, it provides a number of different DevOps tools and integration capabilities, as well as security services in order to secure your solution or application. So let me tell you about a different case that we worked on. Sycus Partner. Is anyone of you familiar with Sycus Partner? So Sycus Partner is sort of an SI, system integrator in the health space, public publicly owned SI who works towards the health industry in different regions in Norway. And what Sykehus partner wanted to do is to provide a way for them to provide their services and APIs to the various regions when they run their projects. We started up that project with, again, running a design thinking workshop where they brought their business opportunity defined and a number of personas defined. One of them we got started on. We did our empathy mapping with them as well. And empathy mapping is really about defining the way an end user thing feels, says, and does, and in that way, in a certain context, find out the pain point. We put the selected pain point into a scenario where we define the different steps for that scenario. And then we thought about big ideas, prioritized them, did some simple sketches to align the team, and from that designed a vision statement. So this is really the design thinking process, yeah? So it's not only based on what? Yeah, those personas. The question was if it's based on what kind of data it's based on. Yeah. So it could be research. It could be experience, well, our clients' experiences. But what we prefer is to actually have someone representing the end user. So we call that a sponsor user. And the sponsor user then acts as the end user during the project. We get those details from many different areas. Sorry, can you say that again? Well, it's not representing a real person as such. It represents the constraints of a targeted persona that we want to apply this application towards. Sorry, can you say the last bit again? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll come to that. We would like to have as much information around the persona as possible. Their interests, their occupation, their age, gender, as much as possible. Because that helps us when we later define, well, that helps align the team towards who are we addressing. If it makes sense. Any more questions around personas? So, we define a vision statement. Now, the vision statement should address the who, what, and wow. Again, who is our target persona? What is it that they are struggling with? Or what is it that we are addressing? And what is the wow effect that we want to achieve with our intended solution? Based on a vision statement, we define a hypothesis. So if we do this and that, we expect this as an outcome, which in turn leads to how we define an MVP. And this is the core thing. When we define an MVP, it is really what is the minimum thing that we can build to prove our hypotheses. To answer your question around adding a lot of features and capabilities, this is where we try to narrow it down so that we are able to quickly develop a prototype. Now our projects last for everything from 4, 6 up to 12 weeks. We never do projects longer than 12 weeks. We rather break it down and develop 2 different or 3 MVPs. Any questions around that? Sorry? A kickoff? Sure. What we normally do is that we do something we call a garage visit, where we go deeper into our methods and methodologies, discuss different use cases. Now, again, we do this with both small and big companies. When we talk with smaller companies, we tend to perhaps go a bit deeper into the areas that they're working on ahead of a design thinking workshop to sort of find a match with what we do and the capabilities that a startup want to provide. But that's somehow where we get started. It's also for partners. So we do this with all kinds of partners. Yeah. So everything that we use is open for you guys to use. Everything is documented on our Garage website. Just Google IBM Garage and you find it there. It's very well described and it's constantly changing. We are iterating the process itself as we learn, as we do more projects and explore new technologies. We are currently expanding our Garage services around blockchain as an example, if you're familiar with that technology, where we have Garage teams focusing entirely on the blockchain technology. Any other questions? Just to pick up that thread around what we do with partners and startups, and obviously we do this with our major enterprise clients as well. Now, in our digital transformation, we have realized that we can't do everything by ourselves, so we are actively looking for partners in different areas, both small companies and big companies. And what we are able to provide is, obviously, since IBM is a huge corporation, we do have market intelligence and insights in most markets and verticals. And that is something that we obviously can share with you guys. And we can talk around to help, especially startups, tailor their ideas according to market needs and discussions that we have with them. Obviously, we have our technology through our cloud available. And the final thing that I put some more emphasis on is around joint go-to-market activities. That's something that is part of our partner program. And the ModCamp story sort of gives you an indication of how we work with smaller companies or startups in that space. The important thing for us is to find a match where we together bring value to the market or our bigger clients or end users for that matter. And some of the partners that we do work with, and by intention I added a few local companies. Obviously we work with big players as SAP and Apple and Twitter and so on. Arduino is a IoT device company based in, well, they are everywhere now. We're primarily working with them in Malmö, at least I am. Weather channel, weather data, became part of IBM quite recently. Vadin is a design framework for UI design provided through our platform in Bluemix as an API. So we do work with a number of different types of partners. Any other questions? Yeah. There's a lot of different organizations that want to put up their own garages today. We are not, well, we are happy to join forces and work with SIs or other consultancy businesses and do joint projects using our methods and principles. And we have a number of that kind of conversations going on. Sorry? Well, obviously we have people working with our partner program and partners. But yeah, I'm happy to have a discussion and involve people that needs to be involved on our behalf. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So next up is our friends from Apartment 5. I also like to announce that we, since of course we have these garage services, but foremost it's an open methodology which we freely like to share with everybody. So as of September we will be present here at Goto 10. So we will shortly launch a schedule of open workshops and labs and have people here who will just be available to talk to and interact with, and any questions regarding both technology as well as methodologies. So we're happy to co-create either solely with partners and or by yourself. It's pretty easy once you get into it. So
if you're interested to hear more about ModCam and what they're doing, they're going to talk at our Watson Developer Day later this fall. So stay tuned for that. I'm not sure about the date yet. Are you?
No, I think we can. We will post that on, for those who are interested, we'll post that on the meetup site, the exact date for the Developer Day. But please help me welcome up our friends from Apartment 5.
Hello. My computer sucks, apparently. There we go. Okay, are you guys ready? Yeah. My name's Anders, and this is my colleague Philip. And we're a team of 5, 6 persons, I think, and we run an agency called Department 5. We're from like the dark side of the innovation business. We're from the advertising side, so we've got to learn a lot of things to learn from you guys, I think, because we work in a totally different culture. We've got like clients who are a bit, they're not very qualified all the time, and they got a low budget, and there's short deadlines all the time. So we're going to talk more about the process of not actually having a process and how it is to work with innovation in advertising. So this is the team. It's me, Anders, and Jeanette. And I think everybody's here, right? So you can just raise your hands and say hi to the crowd. Cool. So I hope you'll find it like an inspirational talk from another branch. Is there anyone here working in advertising, or are you guys mostly working in product and service development, or is anyone working on in a digital production agency? All right. So I don't know where you're working, but you're not working with the things I'm working with. So that's a good start. Yeah, so the name of this lecture is called Prototyping to Engage Clients in Digital Innovation and Communication. So that's pretty, it could be anything, right? So communication here is advertising and PR. That's our business. So we're going to talk about prototyping in advertising, PR, and what we call brand experience. We're part of a brand experience network called, it used to be called Experience Group. I'm not actually sure if it's called Experience Group anymore, because we have a new owner, and he's from the like real estate side of the business. So I'm not sure what he's going to call this network. But brand experience is events mainly. So we work with digital innovation in events. So there's a lot of like pressure to get things working in the right time, and there's really no time for testing and failure because things just have to work. And since we're working in communication, we like to come up with new words. So before this lecture, we actually came up with 2 new words. And these new words are called prototizing and proto experience. And me and Philip tried to find out what we're actually doing during our days and with the agency. So these are the 2 words we're trying to explain around what we're doing. So this is what we're going to talk about. There's 2 types of prototyping in advertising. It's prototizing and proto experience. The first thing, prototizing, that's sort of the really, really dark side of prototyping and innovation. It's not actually real innovation, but proto experience is more about innovation in a more in a way that I think you guys are more familiar with. And we're going to talk about prototyping as a campaign. I'm going to show you a PR process on how to get the attention from the end customer as we want, and how we do it, and differences from product and service companies. All right. So this is our first word for the night. Me and Philip came up with this week, so it's a world premiere for this word. It's called prototizing. So prototizing is when marketing is about the actual prototype and the process to produce it. And this is like a trend in the advertising business since 2010, I would say. And one of the cases that actually made us to start this agency is the Popinator case. Has anyone heard about the Popinator machine? It's a wonderful little machine that actually shoots popcorn once you say the word pop. So it has this voice recognition thing in it, and when it hears the words pop, it actually shoots popcorn. And this looks really, really great on film. and they've actually, in their case film, they have this innovation guy, and he's telling them all about the process and how this machine was built, and it's like these lovely 3D modeling things. And this was a viral success. I think this campaign was launched in 2012, and it's for Indiana popcorn. So just one example of prototyping. Another Swedish example is the anti-banana gym bag. The anti-banana gym bag is a bag that reacts it's a gym bag that reacts once you put a banana in it. In it for Gainomax, and you know Gainomax, they don't like bananas because bananas are for monkeys, and they want you to drink this energy or recovering drink called Gainomax. They actually did build a real prototype of this anti-banana gym bag, but the campaign is all about the process and all about the idea itself, I would say. And the website is still up there, so you can go up and check. I think it's bananagymbag.se. So that's the second example of prototyping. And this is a project we worked on. It's the bark color. It's for Volkswagen, and it's a really it's quite advanced to explain, but the background is that you got sports parents, football parents, that are screaming during football matches, and we want them to stop with that, so they have like a collar around their neck, and if they scream too loud or if they say bad words, this collar gives them a little buzz in the neck. Sorry? You can watch the film and you can see and you can imagine yourself if it's fake or not. And I'll get back to that. Yeah. So the success factors in prototyping, it's all about selling the vision. It's not about the actual prototype. It's not actually about doing something that's really working. It's all about getting that instant wow moment. Once you tell someone about the idea, or if you show them a video or whatever, it's to get that instant wow. So that's what it's all about. And to get the reaction, does it actually work? The idea is more important than the actual prototype. It's all about the word of mouth than the actual end result. I mean, your question is good, but it doesn't matter for the campaign because the word is out there. And the documentation, of course. The documentation about the process, and the documentation about the idea. So this is not science because we're an advertising agency. So this is just we're just trying to map out the difficulty in engaging our audience and being truly innovative. So you have this axis is called, right? It's about engaging and being less engaging, and this is about doing fake story and doing prototypes and innovations that are actually mass production. So what we're trying to say is, if we're going to do mass production stuff, we're just going to do real stuff, then we're going down the slope here by being less engaging. So it's this is just a theory about the how hard it is to actually be here on the engaging axis. And this brings us into our second word, which we call Proto Experience. And Proto Experience is when marketing is about the experience itself, the experience created with the prototype. And this is mainly what we're actually doing, since we're part of this. Do you want to talk? Yeah. So Philip want to talk now. This is one of my favorite cases, though. But Philip can talk about it. Yeah.
Well, you just have to watch. Okay. Proto Experience. Probably the hardest word to pronounce that we ever invented, but it pretty much explains what it does. In prototyping, it's about the process, but the Proto Experience is about the experience with the final prototype. So the process isn't really that, you don't care about it, you just care about the final project. And I think this is a really good example of that. We met with a large telephone operator here in Sweden, one of the largest, and they were having a party for their own people, and every year they have a theme, and this year's theme was connectivity. And there is 2,500 attendees at this party, and we were thinking, how could we connect all of them? Well, all of them are connected through phones and such, but we want to get like more information from them. And so we bought security grade cameras, and we started to do some testing. And we come up with an idea where we're taking pictures of everybody attending at the party and sending them off to our backend and doing face recognition. And with that information, we can see the status of the party. So you can see people were kind of happy still it being an internal event, but yeah. So that was pretty cool. And the point of this is that we were running a prototype. We didn't have time to test all the cameras. It's impossible to test. We got access to the venue the day before, so it was basically a prototype we were running. I will get back to the hard parts about doing that. Here's another prototype we were running. It's in Almedalen. Energy company wanted to show the discussion about the environment, and we thought, well, we're sure there are a lot of talk about the environment on Twitter. So we built a Twitter tree. So as soon as somebody hashtags something that has to do with the environment, the tree speaks out loud the tweet. It's actually quite nice sitting there, just hearing Twitter going on in the background. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the last project I want to show you is, we call it Brainfi. It's a selfie of your brain. What can I say? It's like, yeah, we have this device that you usually use in hospitals and stuff, but there is a startup in the USA that actually make them for consumers, and you can actually use them to control stuff. If you program it right, you can like control your RC cars and stuff like that. So it's actually a cool device. But we used it to track the activity in the brain, and you got a selfie of your brain in a 3D. So that was, yeah, and that is very much a prototype.
We failed on the last little detail because we did this during the what's the trade fair called? The Dustin Fair in the Globe Arena, and there's this device is on not on Bluetooth, right? It's on it's on Wi-Fi, yeah. And there's so many Wi-Fis during the Dustin trade fair, so we had problems with the connection, and that's one of those things that we actually couldn't test. We couldn't know. I mean, we could have read on the internet that, you know, if you have a lot of Wi-Fis in the air, you're gonna have a problem, but there's no way for us to test that actually. So that's one of the things when you make live experiences that, you know, things can go wrong and there's no time actually to fix it, and the client was really angry. Yeah, the client was really angry, but the idea was good, but it was sort of a failure. Yeah.
Yeah, true. All right, yeah. Yeah, we can connect it with the bar color maybe, and we can do something like that. Yeah. Yeah. What I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you. There's another. There's a U.S. agency called Deep Local, and they've tried to put out this prototyping and Proto Experience in a PR process, and it's quite nice to look at this sketch and see all the steps and see what it's all about. It's not, of course, that we are taking all these steps in all our projects, but it's not just nice to see all the PR possibilities. And this is for to think about for startups as well, because when you build a startup, you're not actually just building a digital service or an IoT thing or what you're building. You're building a story as well. I mean, you're building a brand, and you're building a brand story about what you're doing and the people that actually working there. So that's one of the things I see that many startups are actually failing on when it comes to the brand and the story. And I'm working in another project with a startup, and we are 3 or 4 comes from the communication side, so we're building the brand maybe too much and are focusing on the product a bit less. But yeah, I'm not gonna take this process in detail, but you can Google on the Deep Local Post-Digital Campaign process, and it's quite fun to see and quite nice to walk through all the steps. And one of the things I have a problem with when it comes to the advertising business is the last little thing there. You see the award thing. There's so many agencies focusing just on winning awards and trying to win the Grand Prix in Cannes and such, and they're actually forgetting that they have an end consumer and that actually making communication to try to make people think or do something. They're actually just doing campaigns for their own sake, and that's I think that's the downside of working in advertising. Yeah. So this is how we prototype with clients. The ideal process that I guess a lot of you guys are following is some kind of a process like this, where you ideate, then you prototype, and then you learn from your mistakes, and then you refine, and you do it again. Then you go to production, and you refine, and then you go live. And it's all about refining all the time. But our reality is a bit different. We have a clear deadline. We have the trade fair, or we have that concert or whatever when our idea have to fly. There's no time for learning, or there's no time for failing. There's things just have to work. We also have a client who's actually paid for this. I mean, you guys maybe have investors or something else, but if you haven't launched anything, there's no one actually waiting for the thing you're building. But we have a client that has set a date and has said that make this work then. Our reality is as well the difference between pitch and reality. Pitches are really killing the industry because for one project the client can invite like 5 to 7 agencies, and we have to come up with the idea and the budget and the production process of the whole project. And I mean, if we're trying to do something innovative, it's by definition that we actually, by definition, innovation is not actually knowing how things are going to be done or what it's going to cost, but we have to come up with a really great idea and make sure that it actually could work. Not that it will work, but that it actually could work. And then we go and pitch that. And then the client, of course, expect that this have to work, but we just cross our fingers and hope that it might work. So this is more our process when we go from idea to prototype, but we go directly to live, and there's no time for refining. The learnings comes after the project, and if we fail, we lose the client as well. So there's a sad smiley there, not enough time for testing. But the road to success is to make the client understand the real purpose on why they're doing this. It's about building brands, not to win the Nobel Prize. It's about the documentation, the story, not the actual end result all the time. Make the client understand the risks as well. A real risk is when it's bad for the brand, of course. An unimportant risk, well, not always, but it could be technical difficulties. Technical difficulties can be if a user have a problem, or you know what a technical difficulty could be. But you know, if you have 100 users and if 5 users have a problem, that's not the real. That's something you can work on, but it's not actually bad for the brand itself. So a lot of our clients, they're not used to digital production, and they're not used to like seeing the real problems. The true meaning of innovation as well, make the client understand what innovation really is. As I said in pitch, we don't know everything, we have to find out, and it's a real big problem for us to actually get paid for the innovation process. It's actually hard to say to a client, we'd like to do this, but we don't know if it's going to work, but you have to pay us to find out, and that's sort of impossible, I'd say. But if you don't dare, you never win, and make the client understand that failure is normal, and failure is part of the actual process. And always have a fallback, of course, and sad but true, prepare to fake it as well. And sometimes we faked it, but the client always know, but the end user might not know it. So, but that's the way it have to be done. So Philip is gonna talk more about the how we do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Regarding the fallback with the Twitter tree, we actually had bird sounding when the tree lost connection to Twitter. So that was actually pretty nice. But unfortunately we didn't lose the connection, but it would have been nice with the actual bird sounds. Yeah. Well, anyways, our toolbox is going to talk briefly about some of the tools we use when we make prototypes. I'm going to start with InVision. Maybe you guys use that already. If not, you should. I think this is one of the best tools to showcase UI and UX for a client or for whoever could be interested. You can easily just make your designs in Sketch or Photoshop or whatever you're using, upload it, and make a clickable prototype. It's really awesome. It's super easy for client. A client can comment and do whatever. So this is one of the prototype tools we use most, I think. It's really, really good. Of course, when we do the hardware stuff, Arduino, again, an awesome tool, super cheap. You can break it, it doesn't matter, you can just buy a new one. It has loads of stuff. It's really cool. Until you need to go online, then you go for the Raspberry Pi, I think. That is just also an awesome tool, really cheap. You can just throw it in, whatever, and it will work, and you can go to town. It's really cool. And when you're using that, you should probably use Node-RED as well. A project that actually started at IBM. This is really cool. If you haven't checked that out, you really should. It's for prototyping internet stuff. So on it looks really silly, but it's actually really powerful. So you have a lot of different stuff you can just drag into it, and you can connect. Like here, they have connected Twitter to a sentiment. I think that is a what something, and then they split it up and they push it to a WebSocket, and it's so simple. It's super fast, and you should run it in Bluemix as well, because then you get Watson and you got the IoT stuff that IBM is working with. You get all that for free. So you can put code in as well, but you don't have to. It's super powerful. I think this is, if you want to get your feet wet in IoT or whatever, I think this is the way to go. supports MQTT and like everything. It's really, really cool. I think that is our tools. We saved some space for questions as well, if anyone has any. That is a really good question. How do we estimate time when no one else has done it before? I think a lot of the job is research. You just have to Google, has anyone done anything that is almost like that? How could we tweak that? But yeah, it is really hard. Often like Anders was telling about the pitches. Maybe we go into the pitch with one idea, and then maybe you have to scale it back to make it fit the actual budget, and stuff like that. But it is hard. I think research is the key to actually trying to estimate, and sometimes we're way off, both in like above and below, but mostly we hit it most of them. Yeah.
So, sorry, can you repeat the? Yeah, mainly we get leads and businesses through our network. We cooperate with a big event agency called PS. So they might be the agency for like a big anniversary or a big party or something, and then they bring us in to do something extra, you know. And so yeah, we're much of a subcontractor to other agencies, and mainly that agency. We're too small and too weird to work on our own. Yeah. But of course, there are some clients that are like technological companies or IT companies that actually would need some kind of an innovation agency to work with them along the way. Not to work with their actual products, but more to maybe to work with their staff and work with inspiration and creative processes, or like extra stuff in their office or at their parties. So, and there's something called innovation agencies, and I know Tele2 actually have an innovation agency now, but those kind of agencies come from the PR side of the business. We're more like an event agency, and there's PR agencies that call themselves innovation agencies, and it's about prototyping, really. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, that was really, really great to see. I know who I'll follow on YouTube here going forward if I want some really cool ideas. So that was it for today. Thanks so much for joining and listening in. We'll probably head up like in a month's time for a new inspiration, and look out for those hands-on workshop and labs here at Goto 10 going forward. Thanks again, and we'll stay on here for if you want some more drinks. Otherwise, have a good evening. Thanks.